I call this meeting to order. This is a public hearing for the review of the outcomes of the 2022-2023 World's Best Workforce Plan and goals and strategies for the 23-24 school year. I will now read the procedures for this public hearing. It is a policy of the Northfield Board of Education to obtain as much information from as many sources as possible prior to making decisions. In order to assess public attitude, the board will schedule public hearings, the purpose of which is to take public testimony from members of the school district on issues under consideration by the board. Every effort will be provided at a public hearing for all points of view to be heard and considered. To that end, the board has adopted the following procedures. 1. Individuals wishing to address the board shall be recognized by the board chair prior to speaking. 2. Each speaker will state his or her name prior to making comments. 3. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes unless the limit is waived by majority vote of the board members present at the beginning of the hearing. Vice Chair Corey Butler will help keep time. 4. Questions for clarification are appropriate, but debate of issues is not. Board members will be invited to ask questions during our regular meeting. Okay, now I will welcome Director of Instruction, Will Blackson. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. It's your favorite time of year. So tonight we bring you the world's best workforce for 22-23. Just a heads up that in the new legislation, there have been some changes to world's best workforce, and we will see that go into effect for next year's report. So we have a lot of slides tonight and a lot of information to share, and I'm going to try and keep it moving at a decent clip. But we ground everything we do in our vision and our strategic plan, and it is at the center of all of our work. And this year, again, just looking to elevate our performance even more, and that goes to all our strategic commitments, and really, again, is about centering ourselves on our students and their outcomes. So goal 1 for World's Best Workforce, all children are ready for school. And just as a reminder, districts are able to set their own metrics for how they measure this goal. The goals are mandated by the state, but how we measure them are not. We use the STAR test for measuring kindergarten readiness, and that is at our fall testing. So kindergarten students test at the end of September. Our goal was for 70% of our incoming K students to meet grade level benchmarks on that STAR early literacy test, and we were at 64% this year. This slide shows the breakdown by year and by demographic. So you see all students furthest on the left, and then non-free and reduced lunch, which is typically our highest performing demographic. Our free and reduced lunch are white and Hispanic kids. And as in each year that we've showed this data, we do know that the gap between student performance exists as soon as our students are entering our school district. We are doing some things which we'll talk about, strategies to reduce that gap, but this is where we are at, which is fairly stable from last year. We continue to do take several action steps that we believe are making an impact. The birth to 3 programming that's in place at the NCEC, our preschool and family engagement navigators who help families connect with preschools and get enrolled and do all of the things necessary to access preschool schooling. We have NCEC was actually our highest percentage of staff in any single building taking the letters training. They did all participate in the letters training that was offered by MDE in the first round, which happened to be an elementary focus. There is an early childhood focus. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that those staff members get an opportunity to participate in that particular session of letters. But again, there are 2 different levels: early childhood, which wasn't offered the first time, and the elementary focused. The pre-K classrooms continue to use Heggerty. We continue to see good outcomes from that. And so that we will continue. There is Minnesota Reading Corps again at the NCEC this year. The Talking Points platform is being used by staff to encourage family participation in whatever language is necessary. And then Erin and I continue to do the preschool data sharing with area preschools. And that has been a great thing to connect us with them, and includes a meeting in December that brings together our kindergarten staff and area preschool staff to talk about common concerns. So you've seen these steps before. We believe these are the high leverage steps that we need to continue. The one thing that we hope to bring again is that early childhood letters training to the NCEC staff. So with that, we are still going to shoot for 70% because we know that kids coming in at that level means that our MTSS system can support what the extra instruction and support that's needed for kids who might need a little extra boost. We actually hope to be at about 75 or 80%, but we will take 70. And that would be on the fall 2024 MDE screener. Notice I am not naming the STAR test because we are awaiting final judgment on what will happen with the screener we are designated to use starting next year. Here comes the good news. All third graders can read at grade level. We wanted 65% of our third graders to meet or exceed grade level on the 2023 MCA, and we actually hit 68%. So never in my tenure have we hit this world's best workforce goal. So this feels really great, and is a testament to the work of our teachers, our interventionists, our literacy leads, our principals, everybody working all hands in to move kids. So this was fantastic news. And as you can see on the graph, we saw increases in virtually, well, every demographic group in our district. The black solid line in the middle is the state proficiency level, and that actually declined just slightly. So we know that we are doing things to make a difference with this third grade reading metric. This particular metric will not be in the world's best workforce report next year. They are removing it and from world's best workforce and placing it in the literacy plan. But we are happy to see these results. And then as you know, every year I never want to introduce proficiency without some state context. Oh, Tim, it worked, except now I can't see it. Oh, I got to use the cursor up there. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. So we like proficiency, but we also like proficiency within the state context. And so what this means is that I get a data file that includes every district and school across Minnesota. And we filter it for just independent school district 01s who are testing 10 or more students. And then we literally just rank them. What was the proficiency rate looking like across the state? And you can see that at third grade with our 67.5, rounded up to 68, we are higher than 94% of districts testing in the state. And just for the record, the highest third grade proficiency rate for 01 districts this year was 80.6. That was Caledonia. And only 9 districts had proficiency rates in third grade above 70%. So there's not a slew of districts getting very high proficiency rates. We're going to be one of them, though. So we feel like this is good news for us. And in light of that, now I gotta work my magic over here. And I'm gonna drag it off because we're gonna use that again. We're gonna go for 70% this year. We realize it's ambitious. It is a different cohort of kids, but we have some action steps that we're going to be taking to reach that benchmark. So again, the district MTSS process that we're using in the district to really focus on student need and allocation of resources, the access to data on a very timely basis will help us know where to target our efforts. We are focused on high impact instructional strategies in PLCs and in SMART goals. We have implemented structured literacy programs for 20 to 30 minutes a day in K-5. This was a recommendation of the teacher work team. We are part of a study with Minnesota Reading Corps on a program called Bridge to Read that's being used in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. 4 and 5 are using something called 95% group core phonics. And kindergarten is using something called guided phonics. And these are very explicit lessons that are delivered whole group. But we believe it's the best way to make sure every student gets the foundational skills that are necessary to allow them to go on and be successful secondary readers and writers. Our PLC work continues this year with 78 teams across the district that are really focused on student outcomes. We have the reading interventions that we've had in place, SIPs, and Fast Forward is the other primary one that we're using at elementary, and we also have Minnesota Reading Corps support. Goal 3, all racial and economic achievement gaps between students are closed. And this can be measured in any number of ways. You see that across the state. We have focused on attendance for the last few years, and we are looking primarily to make sure that the attendance rates of our students of economic challenge and students of color are similar to their non-FRP or white peers. And so we can see this year, I have to tell you that the win is that attendance rates are up across the board. So that's a win overall. So 71% consistent attendance for FRP students, 75 for students of color, but they're still below non-FRP and white student demographic groups. You can see those there at 85 and 81, but all 4 of those metrics are up from last year and the COVID year. So that's a win. Again, we are working to reduce that gap. So this graph can be a little confusing, but on any given day, and you can see by demographic group, on any given day, our kids are consistently attending. It's just that over time, students will rack up some absences that put them in that chronically absent group, which is more than 10% of the days. And so that maroon bar and the corresponding metric is the chronic absent rate for that demographic group. So while our overall attendance on any given day is good, over time, we are seeing differences in how students consistently attend school. So again, we are looking to say, with our action steps, can we reduce that gap? So we have our family engagement navigators and our cultural liaisons. They do great work. We have wrapped more people into that team that meets. So that includes Cindy Santa and Heidi Ramirez. It includes Sebastian. It now includes Sybil Betzinger. It includes Jennifer Lompard doing this work at the high school, and Lori Taylor. And all of them meet with Carrie Duba to look at the data and figure out what is the best way to support our families to make sure that we are removing any and all barriers to school attendance. So again, that MTSS process and dashboard is is significant because it gives us a system approach, not a building by building by building, but a system approach to how we manage these absences and support families. The high school has a renewed attendance focus this year. People are very happy with that, and we are seeing improvements at that school as well. And then we also are using our SSIS, social emotional survey data, to target students who are showing as needing extra support with areas that might prevent them from coming to school. And so that survey was just taken in October. The information has been provided to building MTSS teams, and they are going after those students to support them and their families as well. Goal 4, all students are ready for career and college. We use 2 metrics because we're ambitious. We use 8th grade reading and math MCAs, and then we also use our ACT. So our goals for this year were that we wanted 65% of our 8th graders proficient in reading and math, and that we wanted 40% of our students hitting all 4 college the subtest benchmarks, so English, reading, math, and science on the ACT. That's a tough thing to do, but we know that those kids are more likely to go on and be successful in their college coursework and not need remedial coursework, which costs kids money, but does not get them credit towards their college degree. So we landed on 56% reading proficiency and math proficiency this year. And we were 1% short of the ACT, which is really quite incredible. Again, as we discussed last year, COVID was very hard on our middle school students. And so this uptick this year that you see in virtually every demographic group is a testament to the work that's being done at the middle school to bring kids back and establish this routine and normalcy in school and academics and everything involved with being a student. So we did see some nice increases. We are not yet back to where we were pre-pandemic. So that's reading. This is math. And again, uptick, and you can see that black line at this in the state level, they're virtually flat. So again, we're gonna go with if I can work my magic. This is super enlightening, especially at the middle school level. And the context is very, very important. So if we look at 8th grade, for example, 56.4%, state was down in reading almost 2%. We were up almost 12%. And that 56.4 still put us higher than 86% of public school districts in the state. So we are just in this time for middle school where we all have to rebuild. Math at that same 56%, we were up 6.2. The state was up 0.1. That put us higher than 85%. And even more telling is science. A proficiency rate of 44.2 was actually higher than 94% of districts in the state, which is mind-boggling if you think about it. So we saw increases across the board. We know we're not done yet, but we know that performance fares well in the state context. So we move on to ACT, which was another big win for us. And you can see that we are the gold line, and that is the district score. So we were up almost a full point while the state dropped and the nation dropped. And you probably saw the headlines about the nationwide ACT scores, quite alarming. That is not what we experienced in our local context. So we are very happy about that. And then you can see here where 39% of our kids were ready in all 4 subjects. And then you can see the percent that were ready in each of the individual domains. But again, compared to state and national results, we came out quite strong. So we are aiming for 60% on our 8th grade MCA proficiency rate in both reading and math this year. We have done some things to boost that, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then also we're going to go big. We're going for 45%. We were 1% away from 40. We're going for it. We have the AVID elective at the middle school, which is preparing kids who show readiness for rigorous coursework, but need some support in learning how to manage rigorous courses. So those students are getting an elective class to prepare them. And we continue to use Edgenuity at Northfield High School and ALC to support students who are behind in credits or just need an extra boost. The high school has implemented ACT preparation as part of CCR time, and really more formalized the CCR block during the day. And that includes the use of the Naviance test prep module, which is really quite effective if kids use it. Then we go on to high school. Again, 1 year delay. So we're talking about class of 2022 because we won't get the class of 2023 until February. We have had this goal. We want a 4-year graduation rate of at least 95%. We were at 90% for the district and 96% for Northfield High School. Here you can see our primary demographic groups. And again, this is the district 4-year rate. But a nice little uptick for the class of 2022 for our Hispanic students and our FRP students. And Northfield High School. And then the ALC, which again, COVID was rough for ALC students, and you can see that drop, but we had a nice recovery this year. We're not there yet, but it was a nice bump up. So we are sticking with that 95% graduation rate because we know that rate means that kids can go off to post-secondary choices. And so the 4-year rate is important. So the Northfield High School Success Center has built layers of support for students needing extra help. And that includes ADSIS, AVID at the middle school, and then the peer tutoring. The MTSS team, we will continue to put that on. The high school team has really dug into their data with a huge concentration on HITS, which is high impact teaching strategies. For the first time this year, teachers were given a data dashboard for their classes as they started the school year. A shout out to Carrie Duba for building those. And so teachers could quickly see who might be at risk for attendance issues, who maybe had some academic issues they wanted to lean into early on in the year. It's called their playbook, and it's been heavily used. So we know that was a good add for them. And then the family engagement process, Shane is doing a number of different things, as is Greg, to pull families in. And we believe that will have an impact on student outcomes. So in review, we always have this little table, and no, we did not meet all our goals, but we were probably closest that I've ever seen. And to hit the 3rd grade was a big win for us. And then this is the new goals for next year. And again, this will be the last year that it looks exactly like this, and we'll wait to see the details when they release them. And then as part of our World's Best Workforce, we are required to report on our achievement and integration plan, baseline, and goals. this one is pretty interesting because we did make progress on goal 1, which is reducing the number of FRP kids who are credit deficient and not on track for 4-year graduation. And so we had 26% and 8% of non-FRP. So again, we're trying to bring those two groups closer together. We did meet our FRP student performance goal on the 3rd grade reading. Again, this can swing widely because the cell size is small, but we hit an FRP proficiency rate of 51%. We were going for 40. We just need to maintain that. The goal 3 was reducing the number of students, a percentage of students receiving Fs at Northfield Middle School. And we did reduce that by 1%. And then goal 4, 2 components this year that at the Student Data Summit, which is being held this Thursday, we wanted 100% of our kids telling us they have learned something new, and 90% of our students saying they were able to generate solutions. So we had 91% of our students telling us they learned something new. And we have a suspicion that it's our repeat customers that maybe don't feel like they're learning something new. And they've made some tweaks to what they're doing this year on Thursday for the first Data Summit. And it's being held in Faribault. But we did reach the second part of that goal, which is 94% of our kids said they did report and generate potential solutions to the issues they came up with. So that's it. We made it. Nice work.
Thank you so much, Hope. That's terrific presentation, and we will save our questions for the regular meeting. Anita, do we have anybody signed up for public feedback? Okay, so that would be item 4, opportunity for the community to give feedback. No one is signed up, so we're moving on to item 5, which is our adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Moved by Amy, second by Jeff. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned, and we will be back for regular meeting at 6 p.m.